All right, so the Broncos just added a pass rusher in the form of Frank Clark. He is a veteran pass rusher, and he's coming to a team that just traded away Bradley Chubb last year. Didn't draft anybody in the draft. They went out and got Thomas Incoom in UDFA and could really use some juice. But what is the fit there? We're going to get into it. Before we do, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment for more videos. I'm going to be covering more of the NFL just in terms of, breaking news, thoughts, and so forth. So rapid reaction here to Frank Clark. He's signing a $7.5 million one-year deal with the Denver Broncos after playing the majority of his career with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Seattle Seahawks. This will be his third team. And so when I look at Frank Clark last season, he finishes the year with 45 pressures, which would tie Draymond Jones, who just went to the Seattle Seahawks this offseason, in the team leader for pressures. Randy Gregory had 20 last year in 6 games, so he's clearly going to be the number one pass rusher on this team. He's going to be the number one edge defender. I think this, in all likelihood, adds a guaranteed starter across from Randy Gregory. I think you've seen some decent things out of Baron Browning, who had 38 pressures, second on the team, number one at the position, in those 14 games they played last year. You got 19 pressures out of Nick Bonito, a former second-round pick the year prior, and then Jonathan Cooper, a seventh-rounder who has been able to get on the field. I think this is going to bolster their depth because now those guys can kind of slide down, and there you go. Now your depth is better. Frank Clark is a veteran presence. In addition to that, I think with the Broncos, I have to say, if they were going this route, my one complaint is that you look at Leonard Floyd signing the same deal less than a week ago with the Buffalo Bills. I probably would have gone after Leonard Floyd. I think he's a better fit. He's a better run defender. I would say he's had just as much success as far as rushing the passer, if not more, over the last couple seasons in LA. And we saw what he did without Aaron Donald and with him injured and on the sideline with a banged up defense in general. I would have liked the fit here for Leonard Floyd and for the Broncos. I think it would have been a good fit. However, they decided to go in the direction with Frank Clark after the fact that Leonard Floyd signed. Sean Payton and him reportedly hit it off on the phone, and then it came to fruition. Clark in his career has 380 pressures, 38 and a half sacks, and 14 forced fumbles since joining the league in 2015. And when I look at this, I think it's definitely worth noting, and I'm not like a all or nothing type of sack type of guy. He's about to be 30 years old, by the way. He turns 30 in about, I'd say 7 days. So it's worth noting when you look at Frank Clark, he's not a bad player, but I'd say he's gotten a little overrated over the years, and he hasn't had a double-digit sack season since Seattle in 2018. So Kansas City let him go for a reason. They wanted to get younger. They went out and they got more guys. And I think just looking at the Broncos right now, I think their defense looks really good, from top to bottom. You have guys all over the place. They go out, they get Zach Allen. They have DJ Jones, who they get. He was with the Niners. They have Baron Browning, who we talked about. They have Jonathan Cooper, Randy Gregory, Nick Bonito, Alex Singleton. That was a nice signing. They drafted Drew Sanders. I love that pick in the third round for them. Josie Jewell's still there. Then you have guys in the secondary, obviously. K'Wan Williams made his presence known in San Francisco. Damari Mathis, a fourth-round pick from 2022. Riley Moss, an exciting third-rounder out of Iowa this past draft. You got Justin Simmons, who's one of the best safeties in all of football. Kareem Jackson, Caden Stearns. They went out and got J.L. Skinner in the 6th round out of Boise State. And they have Pat Surtain, who's one of the best corners in the league. So you add Frank Clark to that defense, who, of course, that defense is coached by Vance Joseph. And all in all, I give this move a B minus. I can see why. I saw before I got on here and made this video, I saw on Twitter, I do follow a lot of Broncos fans and Broncos content creators, and it seemed like mixed reactions. Obviously, the stuff about, Frank Clark off the field, some people had an issue with just bringing him into the organization. And I'm not saying that was recent or anything, just the fact it's out there. Um, there are other people that are like, this guy doesn't get enough sacks, and I get that. I mean, he hasn't had double digits since 2018, like I mentioned. And for my biggest thing is, you had an opportunity to go out and get Leonard Floyd for the same price. I think this is a little bit of an overpay. And I think this is a guy who has a big name because he was on a big time team in Kansas City. But in reality, the pressures really haven't been that great either. It's not just a sack thing. The most pressures he's ever had was 2018. You could argue ever since he went to the Chiefs, which was considered such a big deal to get him because of his last season in Seattle, he was kind of an underachiever. 8 sacks, 6 sacks, 5 sacks, 6 sacks, 47 pressures, 44, 46, 45. Like consistent, but still just not what you were expecting. Frank Clark is a guy from 2018. You expect him to go up. You expect him to just continue to go up and, just get better as an overall player. And I don't feel like he really did that. And then you look at his run defense, where I would say he's a little bit of a liability in that regard, whereas Leonard Floyd's great against the run. I think that's what I look at in terms of this move. I think, there were other guys out there. They could have even gone and, maybe given up a draft pick to go out and get Zadarius Smith, who was traded to the Browns. They could have held out, this $7.5 million and, gone after, maybe a guy, like a Danielle Hunter, who is on the trade block, maybe seen and kicked tires on, Chase Young, if he's an option in Washington. I think I get it, but I also don't really get it because I think I'd rather just try and develop Baron Browning, try to develop my second round pick from a year ago and Nick Benito, and just keep rolling with Jonathan Cooper and see what happens. I mean, you didn't get a full season of Randy Gregory, and I think he makes a lot of, everybody around him, he makes their life easier, right? So what you saw out of him in those 6 games, it was promising. And I feel like, maybe this might be one of those moves that does work out, but realistically speaking, he hasn't had over 50 pressures since 2018. He hasn't had double-digit sacks since 2018, and he just really hasn't been a great player since 2018. And even then, he was solid against the run, but not great, more of a pass rush specialist. So it'll be interesting to see how he's deployed. I imagine he's going to start across from, Randy Gregory, but very curious what you guys think. Drop in the comments section below. To you Broncos fans out there, do you like this? Is this a good move in your opinion? Based on Twitter, I see mixed reactions, but I think I'm really hung up on the fact that if the Broncos were interested, and since they spent $7.5 million on Frank Clark, they were clearly always interested in going out and getting another pass rusher. Would it have been best to go after one of those in the draft? Would it have been best to go after Leonard Floyd, trade for Zadarius Smith, hold out hope and, trade for one of the big names? I don't know, but personally, I would have liked the Leonard Floyd piece more. And I think when you look at the same exact price, that's my biggest issue when it comes to this overall move. So again, it's a B-, probably a C+, B-, I'd say like slash there. But we'll see what ends up happening and what he can do with Vance Joseph in Denver. But that's going to do it. If you liked this, there's more where that came from. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know, and I'll see you guys soon. Later, folks.